Hey everybody, welcome to Two Sons Podcast.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you could take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel, we would really appreciate it. Obi-Wan and Mustafar sees Anakin burning alive on the beach, and you assume he thinks he's going to die.
Yeah.
Right? But he's painfully aware of Vader in A New Hope. Mm-hmm. When he talks to Luke, he literally references him as the man who killed his father. Like, he references him as a man who used to be a Jedi. So, yeah. Obi-Wan clearly knows Vader is alive in episode 4 and clearly didn't know in episode 3. And that's a connection I never made.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So when Reva makes that reveal to Obi-Wan, I was like, oh shit, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. And that reveal was huge. I mean, oh my gosh, that was so powerful to me. I was way more, I guess emotional truly is the word. I was way more emotional watching these first and second episodes than I thought I ever would be. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a great job. Because I mean, you and I had all these doubts. We were thinking, okay, like Disney Star Wars, they're making more plot holes than filling. And then here they are filling up plot holes that we didn't even think existed. So that's a huge applause to Star Wars and Disney at this point.
Yeah, we were worried in our preview about the respect to the source material for the sake of a cheap thrill.
Yeah.
And I thought they hit a slam dunk home run through 2 episodes in terms of respecting the source material.
Oh, and it totally felt like Star Wars. To me, it 100% felt like Star Wars from start to finish. Even the small stuff, like in the back, I love to watch the backgrounds of Star Wars scenes.
This is stuff that Luke gets that I just have no awareness of. This is why I love having him here for this.
So for example, like in all the cityscapes and all the townscapes, one of my favorite things to do is check out the aliens and to see how they're portrayed and to see how like people are communicating with each other. And one of the things that I thought was super, super cool that I picked up on, there's actually 2 things that I freaked out on. So the first one was, Jay, did you recognize that little spaceship that Obi-Wan spent so much time trying to get for?
Yeah, so that was the one that Luke has in his room where he cleaned the droids.
Yeah. So that was super, super cool, and I love that they did that because it showed kind of Obi-Wan almost taking on like that fatherly figure with Luke instead of Anakin. So it was super cool that they did that. But even as small as like having droids in the background of what's the city? It feels like Tokyo. It's where like the Breaking Bad scene happened. The spice scene. Where Obi-Wan goes and saves Leia, little Leia.
Okay, do we know what planet that was?
Yeah, so they say it. The guy's like,
it's not Nar Shaddaa, was it?
No? Or maybe it was a city. He's like, you're in so and so now.
And this is a place where all the transmissions in and out are blocked. Yeah. Everyone wants to be a secret here.
Yeah. Anyways, there's droids in the background of that scene that have like graffiti on them and stuff.
Oh, really?
Which was super cool. And then finally, too, not to jump down a rabbit hole, but that little Sentinel system, like it's like a Star Wars version of like
it looked like R2-D2's little camera.
It looked exactly like that, but it would have been super easy for them to have like a really lame animated thing pop up out of the dirt. But that was like an actual like fabricated piece that came out, and you could tell because it almost kind of like wobbles a little bit, and it looks a little bit like cheesy, and I loved it. It was so classic Star Wars, and I loved every single second of it. And when I saw that little thing pop out of the sand after like the intro, I was like, okay, they have spent so much time looking into Star Wars detail, and I was so happy about it. It relieved me more than you could ever know, and it made me enjoy the show so much.
Dude, the intentional jankiness of Star Wars is so awesome. It's always been it's like, to me, it's like you mentioned the aliens. It's the aliens. It's like the massive headpieces, and they kind of communicate like this. Like they just kind of wobble around. And you can tell there's like a human in there wearing an obnoxiously hot costume. You know, they're just like
in a desert.
In the desert, yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I think that's such an important and core part of like the difference between Star Wars and like a Dune.
Yeah.
Is like we've talked about this a lot. Like what is accepted in Star Wars as acceptable cheesiness or acceptable jankiness versus what is outside of that realm.
Yeah.
Like Vespas in the Boba Fett series, not chill.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
But everything else great.
Yeah. They call that town Mos Vespa. Have you ever seen that joke? Instead of like Mos Eisley, but they call it Mos Vespa.
Mos Vespa.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Why we're talking about cheesiness? Because we'll get back into like the nitty gritty of the plot, but this is more of like cinematic experience. Since we're already talking about it, there was two things that kind of brought me out of what I believe is like a Star Wars experience. So what I mean by that is there's certain times when you're watching Star Wars and then you're like really into it, and then all of a sudden you just get yanked out by something that's kind of cheesy or like off-putting. For example, we've talked about the arcing green bolts and the slow-mo like Star Destroyer chase. Another one that we haven't talked about is when Rey gets deployed out of the Millennium Falcon in that like coffin thing.
Oh my gosh, dude.
That one's so bad. But anyways, there's two things that kind of yanked me out of like the Star Wars universe when I was watching the first and second episodes. And these are literally my only two issues. And these are so minute and not a big deal. And I just want to make it clear. I think they knocked out the first two episodes. I think they did fabulous. So this isn't me so much like being disappointed, but this is just kind of like fun Star Wars conversation, more or less. Little Leia must be really fast, because there's two accounts where she's like kind of like running around, one of which is she's being chased by bounty hunters in the forest, and they just can't like walk over to her and like pick her up, right? So she's like sliding under trees and stuff, and they can't reach her, which I thought was funny. It gets even worse when they're in the city and Obi-Wan's trying to get her. She literally like walks like right next to him, and he like does like a fake reach towards her.
I did see the fake reach thing. Yeah.
And then literally like the next scene, she's like kind of like running down a like a corridor, like an alleyway, and then she's able to reach a ladder and completely climb the ladder before Obi-Wan can even get to the ladder. And I'm just like, what was Obi-Wan doing? Did he like take a hit of spice in between? Like, why did that happen? And then there's one other thing too, which I thought was funny, where in the Breaking Bad scene, I'm calling it the Breaking Bad scene, where like Obi-Wan has like his respirator on, he's got the goggles. Leading into that scene, there's an alien that comes out of like a doorway, and the alien has like really wide set eyes. And then on top of his head, though, he's wearing like human-sized goggles, which cracked me up.
Oh my gosh, I totally missed that.
Yeah, so it's like modern day, like, or if like Star Wars version of like OSHA went in there, they'd be like, "Hey, do those goggles fit?"
Yeah, I don't
like,
think those. Yeah, those would rest on your pupils, actually.
Yeah, like on the bridge of his nose. So those are literally the only things that I had issues with these two first episodes.
I did not notice the alien thing, and this is why I need you here. The kid thing, I definitely noticed a little bit. I thought it made sense when she was crouching through small areas to gain an advantage, but in any sort of open space environment, it made no sense that she was like that in the alleyways. Slow. Yeah. And like as soon as Obi-Wan started chasing her on the rooftops, he would have been able to catch her. But it is what it is. We're being nitpicky.
I know.
So back to the Anakin reveal. So we talked earlier in the episode about the emotional weight and the way that makes scenes like that resonate. And I did think that was a really cool moment. And in general, because then of course we cut to Anakin himself at the end of the second episode in presumably a Bacta tank, you know. And one of the things that Anakin did, I thought, at the end of episode 3 that was really interesting, not episode 3 of the show, but episode 3 of the movies. Okay, was even like, you call it lacking self-awareness, call it whatever you want to call it. To me, it's just the dark side. But like, it's fueling for anger. But Anakin really blames everything on Obi-Wan and on the Jedi, and it's completely irrational. Yeah, but it's like you could tell, like even when Padme went down, it wasn't like you brought her here to kill me, like or you brought him completely here to kill irrational. Me, like it's he completely has painted Obi-Wan as the problem, as the villain, and of course we learned that he's been chasing him for 10 years. The Inquisitors have obviously been after him for a while. There's that scene where he's looking into the camera wearing the Bacta tank. It's like one of the most important details of the Sith that you have to understand if you're not deep into the woods of Star Wars is anger is literal fuel to them. Bane, one more time, we'll get into this. Last Bane reference. At one point, Bane gets poisoned and is searching for a healer, but he has to travel a great distance. And the poison is killing him. Mm-hmm. And he is falling to pieces on his way to this place. But he encounters a child and his father who are like navigating like with a little cart, I think where they were farming or something. And he brutally murders them
in front of each other.
Because their grief and anguish is like fuel to him. And like
I legit had to stop reading and like put the book down. I was like, this would be terrible to experience. Can you imagine?
Yeah, Luke, when he was reading the book, he'll like text me. He's like, dude, that scene with Bane and the farmer and his son was really hard for me to get there. I'm like, I hear you, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Jason's like, oh, I loved it. It was so cool.
I read it twice. But yeah, so the anger, and then like beyond the grief and anguish, you'll see scenes where in the books and in movies where it's like in order to gain the energy to fight, they will think back to a thing. I talked to you about that Lords of the Sith book, the Darth Vader book that kind of dives into his mentality immediately after Order 66, and it's very intentional. You could tell like Vader like has to constantly think about all of that stuff, think about Padme's death, fueled. Think about Obi-Wan, to be fueled just on like a day-to-day basis. It's such an important part of like that dynamic. And that's what I was thinking when I saw Anakin staring into the camera.
I was too.
He's just sitting there boiling mad.
Just getting fuel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a really cool
seeing
scene.
Melted Anakin, because we've seen Anakin after he's been injured in a number of scenes now. So one is when we see him right after getting burnt, and he still very much so looks like himself. You can still tell it's him. But then one of the next times that we see Vader is actually when he's dying with Luke. Yep. And he's bald and has white skin now, like a lot of dark users have. And then it's like really interesting to see him burnt but still relatively young, just sitting in the back of the tank, and his eyes are just evil, and they're just, he's just fuming.
Well, do you remember the scene where Ahsoka cuts through his helmet?
Yes. Yeah.
So in Rebels, which is the another one of my I swear, if I was ranking Star Wars scenes, like my top 20, there'd be a half dozen scenes in there that came from Rebels or Clone Wars or things like that. The scene in Rebels where Ahsoka fights Vader, I believe, on Malachor, she effectively cuts through his helmet, and you see, and there's this iconic scene where Anakin yells Ahsoka, and like
his voice kind of
comes through in Vader's voice and in Anakin's voice. It's major chills. And his eye is orange, and it's the same like orange with the red on the outside that you see in his eyes when he's storming through the Jedi Temple in Revenge of the Sith, just killing all the Jedi. Like that is such an iconic like part of the dark side, and it also seems that the eyes change color specifically when he's in a specific state of rage.
Because he's with Padme at one point, and he's got relatively normal eyes.
Exactly.
And then when he's going through and he's killing all the separatists too, he's got crazy eyes.
Exactly. So it's very clear that like kind of like we were talking about earlier with the wasting away of your body, that's part of that whole dark side using experience, is it just screws with your body.